Okay, I am to assume it's recording.
Yep.
Okay, do you see it? Oh yeah,
I
look.
see. Yeah. It warned me and it's running. So
Okay, cool. Oh wait, you just disappeared. Well, that's so weird. It doesn't tell me where it's recording.
It does at the bottom, it's very small.
Yes.
Little red dot that's blinking.
Oh, right down there. Yeah, I see it. I got my glasses on tonight. Okay, all righty. So we're all happy with this, all right? We don't need to have this really, so I'm going to put that over there. All right. Now, before I get started, I want to talk a little bit about Unity versions, okay? Because Unity comes out with a new version of their software about every 6 months or so. And sometimes they radically change what their software does. This is why they have you use that Unity hub, because you can actually have like multiple installations of Unity happening and you can choose which one you're going to use. Why am I telling you this? Because in about version 2020, they named them after the years now, they made a radical change in the way you set up VR for doing like immersive VR. I'm going to show you version 2019 tonight, one of the older versions of that, because frankly, it's a lot easier to get VR going with it. However, all the tools that I show you also work for version 2020 and beyond. It's just a little trickier to set that up, and I'll show this all to you next week, okay? We have two Unity VR goggles that you can use. One is the older Oculus Rift, not Unity, Oculus. One is the older Oculus Rift, which is pretty good. But we've got also the new Quest 2, and I've been working with that. The biggest difference between the Quest 2, we don't have the Quest 3 yet, but we'll probably get some of those, is that you can actually set it up so it doesn't have any cables that connect you to the computer. So you can just like wear the goggles and wander around the room and smash into objects and things like that. So, but I'll show you how to use all that stuff, all right? What I have done is created, remember all that nonsense I showed you last time about when I said you create the observer, then you drag the script onto the observer and then it'll move, and then you have to drag a script onto the camera, drag the camera to the observer. Well, fortunately, you don't have to do that anymore. This thing here that says Brad Observer Unity package, all you do is bring that over into your Unity project, and it works. I'll show you that too. Okay, but let's get going. What I thought I'd do is just start building some fairly simple stuff and then just kind of build it out from there. And again, we're still going to be working with things like platonic solids and cubes tonight. It won't be until next time that you really get to have fun with building the trains and volcanoes and rivers and, you know, God knows what else you can think of. All right, so I'm going to start up my Unity hub here, which is over here. All right, and I will create a new program. The other thing that I have to warn you about is that we're going to probably have to wait for some stuff because Unity runs very slow on Macintoshes. It doesn't run so slow on Windows machines, okay? But I was in the middle of typing something here. Come on, class. Okay. All right, so here's our hub, and you can see right here that I've got different versions of the editor, okay? And I can actually look at the installs and see what versions I have. And you can actually go to unity.com and download different versions if you want, okay? One thing to be aware of is the ones that say LTS, that's one that they kind of froze, and it stands for long-term support. So that's, if you have a choice of ones you want to use, generally use that. And in fact, I'm going to use this 2019.4 long-term support one tonight. The other thing that's important to make note of is whether or not this is Intel, or if you're running on a Macintosh, it'll say Apple or M1 or Silicon or something like that, because they're two different CPUs and you have to use different packages to get to them, okay? But I'm going to go to projects and I'm going to create a new project, all right? And up here, I'm going to choose my editor version. Like I said, I'm going to use 2019.4 tonight because it's going to be a little bit easier for us to negotiate. And then you can choose, where do you want to store the project? Well, I want to store it here in week 10/class, okay? Because I'm going to put it all online. And then give it a name, and I'll call this week 10 class Unity. Oops, my cheat sheet thing went off. That's not good. There we go. Okay, so uRT. That's great, Brad. All right. So the other thing that they've got this default thing here, connect to the cloud. It's for doing some kind of weird analytics or data collection or something nonsense like that. I like to turn it off because I don't know what it does, and I think it slows things down, but I'm not sure about that. So I turn it off anyhow. All right, now I'm going to create a project. And oh, yeah, you get to choose what kind of project you want. Don't be tempted by the one that says VR, even though you might be developing VR stuff, because it has a whole bunch of gunk you don't want right now. Maybe when you get older, you can. You know, your mom and I said, wait for now, okay? Just go with the 3D core, okay? And that's the one that will create a basic project like the ones we've been using in class. So create project, here it comes. And now I'll have to think of some jokes or something to tell you, because this is going to take a couple of minutes probably. If we're lucky, maybe not. Hey, Doug, why did
Yeah.
why did the cranberry cross the road?
I don't know.
To get to the other sides. That's a Thanksgiving joke if you're not from the United States. Okay, cranberry is considered a side dish.
That's
Bada bing. Hey, look, and the Unity stuff is all there. Okay. All right.
let's hope it starts up real fast from now on.
All right. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is we've got this basic stuff with like a camera there and a lighting source. We're going to actually be fooling with the lighting source a little bit tonight. That'll be fun. Okay. And I'm going to just create some basic objects. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a plane, okay, to give us something to kind of do. And I'm going to have fun. First of all, I'm going to reset this so it's at 0, 0, 0. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger than we've had it be in the past. So I'm going to make it be 5 units by 5 Unity units. Now, the plane is the only one that operates with units that are a multiple of 10. So that's why it's so huge looking right now. All right. Then I'm going to do some fun. I'm going to add a cube. Okay. And let me bring it up off the top of the floor here, okay? I'm going to bring it up by maybe 2 units, okay? And let's zoom in on it a little bit. Let's see how we're doing. Okay, there's our camera over there. Cool. All right. And now here's the fun I'm going to have. I'm going to make it like a kind of a cool looking cube. How am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to create another cube. All right. And what I'm going to do is make this cube, this is pedagogically oriented, I'm going to make this cube be a child of that first cube. Okay, so that means I simply just drag it up there and click on that. And now, if I move this first cube here, it moves the entire thing, okay? Why did I do that? Because I'm going to take this second cube and I'm going to now put it at a relative point of 0. Oh, that's the first cube, sorry. I'm going to take this second cube and I'm going to put it at 0.0.0 relative to the first cube, which means it's now completely overlapping that first cube, but I'm going to rotate it by 45 degrees here, 45 degrees here, and 45 degrees there. Now I've got a cool looking QB thing, okay? So this is the fun you can have with Unity, all right? Now, just for fun, I'm also going to add some of that not texture stuff, but material stuff to give them some different colors. So let's create a material, okay? And we'll call this plane mat. And let me go over here, and let's make it a nice color, okay? We'll make it be kind of a greenish color, maybe. Yeah, greenish color. Yeah, how's it looking? There it is down there. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, and let's put it on our plane. There, we've got a nice greenish plane. Now we're going to do the cube. We're going to make it a color too, okay? In fact, I'm going to make them both. Well, let's just do one first. Let's just do a color, okay? So we're going to go material. This is pretty boring to watch, isn't it? Okay, let's make it be, say, red and green. Yeah, it's getting close to Christmas time. All right, so we'll do that. We'll call this cube mat. Cube matte. Oops, I don't want to make it capital. That looks like it's too serious. I'm going to spell it right too. Cube matte. Matte is my shorthand for material, of course. Wait, what happened? I had a nice red color, but it's no longer a red color. There it is. There we go. And I'll put it on the second one too. All right, so cool. We got these things, all right? Now, what I want to do is bring in an observer object that will allow me to move around and examine this cool cubey structure up close. Now remember, back in the olden days, what I had you do is create a capsule and then add all those scripts to it. Welcome to the brave new world of Brad Hackdahl Weekend. And I created this thing called the Brad Observer Unity package. And all you do is pull it over into your assets. And it'll say, what do you want to import? Well, we want to import all of it. So I say import. There it comes. There it comes. Yeah, my mind is thinking now, Doug. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm not even sure why it's doing half of this stuff, but it sure is. Anyhow, oh, this is what's fun to do. I spent a lot of time this weekend doing this very thing. Oops, it's going the wrong way. Ah, oops.
Whatever you're doing on your screen doesn't
You don't see
show.
that? Oh, really? You can't see the assets.progress. You can see the Unity stuff though, right?
I can see the assets, but you were moving your cursor around in a weird way. I thought there was something else. Oh, you're just waiting for it to go up. Do you remember
Right.
the movie Office? Do you remember the movie Office Space where he's waiting for something to download? There you go.
Yeah, yes, and the bad guys are getting closer. Yeah, Sandra
Yes.
Bullock, of course. Okay, all right. So I've got this thing here. Oh no, now it's writing the packages. There, all right, we're happy. Okay, and there's my observer folder. This is what I was telling you about that the other one should look like. I'll make sure and fix that. Okay, so we go into the observer folder and we see these things called prefabs. These are the things that contain everything that you might have built on something. And this is actually the observer prefab. All I have to do is drag it out here onto my scene. Okay. Now I'm not going to give it a cool color or anything like that because we're not going to see this part. That's my body. Okay. But we can see what it's seeing by looking at game. That's actually what the camera is showing because I've mounted the camera up at the top of this capsule. Now, there is one problem here. Okay. If I hit play, okay, and I'll stop it pretty quickly. All right. Okay, you'll see that I'm seeing the observer and the cube. And in fact, there were some errors in here. There are two audio listeners in the scene. What happened is this has the main camera on it now, but we already had a main camera in the scene. So what we have to do is delete that main camera. And that's done by hitting the delete key, hitting Command Delete. Now I only have one main camera, life is good. And now, here's the fun part. I can take this and move it around. Here we go. Whoa, so we can go up and see this. Whoa, there it goes. We can look up, we can look down, we can spin around. And the really cool thing is that this will all work now also with the goggles. So you can actually enter into the scene at that point. All right, just for fun, I wanted to make sure I didn't set that up properly. I'm going to set it up, I'm going to reset it, make my Y value be 1, and make my Z value be -5, because I just like nice round numbers like that. So there we are. There's our little scene. Life is good. What in the heck is this? Oh, that's my, this is, yeah, that's something else. Never mind. Okay. All right, now I'm going to show you one more thing, and then we're going to start adding some sound to this, okay? The other thing that is important for you to kind of really start working with as you develop Unity scenes is the lighting. I think I said early on, that's really important. And just for an example, let me show you this directional light. This is the light that is lighting the entire scene. Now notice that it's showing up right here. This directional light is sort of omnipresent. It doesn't actually come from a source. There are other lights that do that. What this is this is just the angle of light, ambient light, that is hitting the entire thing. And what's cool is that you can change that angle and get different effects out of it just by messing around with the rotation of this light. Ooh, not that. That doesn't do much of anything. But the Y rotation will change it. In fact, let's do it like this. We can bring it around. There it is in the background. And this is when it starts looking, you know, really sort of. Yeah, okay. Sorry, I couldn't resist. Okay, all right. Yeah, that's my joke. Well, let's put it back here. Okay, so we can get something. Well, I like those kind of long shadows, and you can see how much fun it looks like, you know, when you're down in here. Yeah. So here we go. Yeah. Now you can see my shadow. Oh, I'm casting a long shadow over here, and you can see the sun in the sky. Ooh, cool. All right. So yeah, these are all fun things that you can play around with as you start developing these scenes, and they're all pretty powerful. You can do some pretty amazing effects with them. All right. So the next thing we want to do is now start adding some sound to this, all right? And I've done this before, I'm going to do it again. The nice thing here is that I have another one of these packages, and you can just drag it into the assets here, all right? And we'll put it down here. And it says, oh, do we want to import all this stuff? Yes, we want to import all this stuff. So I hit import. I was going to have to write the package items and all that stuff. Hey, that was fast. But notice that we have this evil error down here, okay? Unsafe code may only appear if compiling with /unsafe, unsafe code. And again, this is something, unfortunately, I can't quite, there's a way to do this automatically, but it's kind of non-fun, so I didn't do it. What you're going to do is go down here to project settings. And this is important because you're also going to be using this to turn on and off VR simulation when we get to that point. But in project settings, okay, if you go to the player, okay, and scroll way down here, you'll see allow unsafe code. Yes, we want to allow unsafe code. And now we're happy. We have all of uRTcmix ready to go. Okay, now let's go down here. Now let's go into the prefabs. Now let's take uRTcmix main, put it up there, right? Life is good. Now let's take the beep thing, put it up there. Yep, there, it found it.
So I have a question, Brad. I
Sure.
think I missed a step. So what are those two things? In other words, what were they outside of Unity? Were they compiled binaries?
They contain the library, the loadable lib that we build in uRTcmix.
Yeah, but why is there a special thing called beep? That's the only
Oh,
thing.
beep is just to test it out. I'm just going to play this, and you're going to hear a beep. That guarantees it's working. Then I'll get rid of it, and we're going to replace it with an object that actually has some uRTcmix sound I want in it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Okay, I'm just doing this as a verification that it's working. And in fact, when I play this now, and also it's also going to tell me if I need to reset my buffer size, because Unity and Zoom don't play well together sometimes. So let's hear if we hear a beep. Yes, you hear beep, Doug? Is it a sine wave beep? It's not. Okay, it's not going or anything like that, is it?
It's very pure.
Oh, good. All right, life is good, guys. All right, we're off and running now. So uRTcmix is all running. At this point, I'm going to do what I told Doug I was going to do, and I'm going to delete the beep object. All right, and we're going to create a new script. But here's the thing: we're going to actually, instead of just beep was just kind of like this object that just existed in like no space. It was basically a game object that had no sort of mass. It wasn't a capsule or anything like this. This script we're actually going to add to the cube, because ultimately we're going to localize the sound coming from that cube so that as we move around, the sound will appear to emanate from the cube itself. So I'm going to attach a script to it, okay? Oh, yeah, okay. So let's go down here, and I selected this cube. I can hide that other one because I don't really need to. Just for fun, let's call it the meta cube. so that we're like cool about it, all right? I'm gonna go down here and I'm gonna add a script to it, okay? So I'm gonna say add component, and I'm gonna add a new script, and I'm gonna call this new script, we'll call it MetaCube sound, okay? Did I spell it right? Yeah, all right. So I'm gonna create an ad. There we go. Whoa. And if we go out to the top level or access, for some reason, it always creates scripts out here, even if you have like separate folders and everything like that. So there you see, there's the MetaCube sound script. Well, we need to actually have that script make some sound. So let's open the script up, and then I'm going to go out to Max MSP and find some cool sound, okay? Here we go. Opening it up, Visual Studio. There we go. It's coming. Yay. And there's our script. Obviously, it doesn't have a lot that it's doing right now. Just to refresh, start is what you do to initialize all your stuff. Update happens once a frame. So that's where like you do all the stuff. Is this boring yet, guys? Is this doing okay? Okay, good. All right, just wait. All right, let's go out here and let's find us some cool sounds. So I'm going to go to my safety thing, and what I'm going to do is basically, let me show you how I did this. Let me start at Max MSP. Okay, here we go. And let me, the cool sound I found was one that I already knew about. Okay, I brought up an uRTcmix object, and then I hit Option, click on it to bring up the help patch. And this thing that says internal buffs, it does this. So I thought, that's a cool sound. So I'm going to use that in my uRTcmix MetaCube object, all right? So let's just forget about that for a minute, and let's go back and get this ready to go so that we can embed the script here and have it go, all right? Here's what I'm going to look at, okay? There's two ways to kind of approach figuring out what you want to write in uRTcmix. One way is if you go to the scripts, not those scripts, okay? There's the script for the beep object that we used. There's this uRTcmix main that you don't have to see because that's all the stuff that's on there, okay? And then there's this uRTcmix script template, okay? This is the one that has all of the things that uRTcmix can do in it. And I'm thinking we're gonna work from that because we're gonna like grab stuff from it and then, you know, ultimately build out our whole script, okay? So let me start that up. Okay, and there it is, all right? Now, you can see it is sort of like our other one. You can see there's the start function here, and then there's this update function here. Notice we're not doing anything in update. We will later, but we're gonna start copying stuff from here and moving it over to the MetaCube sound, okay? Where it's gonna do stuff, all right? Now, this is where, I was thinking it might be easier to do it from the beep script because it doesn't have all this other stuff in here. But let's just use this one, okay? First thing we want to do is grab this function that says awake and all this stuff up above it because MetaSound does not have that, okay? So I'm going to simply select all this. And while we're at it, let's just get the start function too, because that has some stuff in it too. Let me control copy it. Go over here, and then I'm going to blitz out the existing start, paste all that in, all right? What have we done? Well, these, if you remember, these are variables that are used throughout all of this MetaCube sound. So from here all the way down to there, and anything else we put in between, they'll be able to see this. And this first one is important, called the objno, and I'll talk about it more later. This one is important because that's the thing that we use to determine where all the functions are on that, okay? All right. And then this did start thing, that's just an internal thing we use to determine whether or not we've started uRTcmix, all right? Now, this awake function, this piece of code that looks insane, it is insane, and usually I just copy and paste stuff like this, you know, when I'm doing my work. Basically, this takes this variable and allows it to access all of the stuff that's in that prefab, like I said earlier. So now that I've done that, then I can say uRTcmix dot init uRTcmix. That will initialize uRTcmix, okay? And I'm also going to add another one here in a minute, which is all uRTcmix dot send score. In fact, let me do that. But before I do that, let me do it right now, okay? Because we know we want to send it that score that does all those cool marimba things. So let's go back out to Max MSP. And I will open up this object. There's the score we want. Yay! It's all done for us. Isn't that great? Now, I'm going to control copy this. Now, here's where it gets a little bit tricky, okay? I can't just paste it in here because it will think that, notice all those red lines? That means you're doing something wrong. And I'm doing a whole lot wrong there. That's because this is using that min-C language, not the language C#, by the way, that is being used for this metacube.cs, stands for C#. What we have to do is put that min-C stuff into a form that the C# language can use. And I've got a great thing, I showed you this last time too, or whatever time, called the scorealizer. Double click on it. It says paste in your score and then hit return and type Control D. So I'm going to paste it in, I'm going to hit return, I'm going to type Control D and say scorealize. And there, C# formatted uRTcmix score start and the end. All I do now is simply take this, copy it, go back to my, oh, and I can shut this down now. Go back to here, put it in here, and look, there's no red sort of things. In fact, I'm going to push this over here to make it look nicer. Okay. So what this does is this takes this variable called score and assigns all of that to it. So now I have this thing that has all of the stuff I want. All right. What do I do with all the stuff I want? Well, this is the start method, so it's going to just go once. First thing it's going to do is initialize uRTcmix, but the next thing we want it to do is RT, and I'll just type this to show you that I know what it is. Notice that how it like magically starts showing you stuff that's possible. I'll just hit this, uRTcmix dot what's possible. Oh, look at all this stuff that's possible. And I go, whoa, there's one called send score. Look, that's a score. I want to send it to uRTcmix. So what do I send? Well, it will tell me a score and the object number, okay? So I'm going to send it that score and that object number. And again, the object number is mysterious for now, but you're going to figure out what it's like soon, all right? All right. So now we could run this. It would initialize uRTcmix. It would declare this score. It would send it to uRTcmix. But how do we hear it? Because there's nothing in the rest of this code that suggests how you're going to hear it. This is where we go back to our uRTcmix template and we go down here and, oh, nothing happens in update. So that's not going to do it, which is okay because update, like I said, happens once a frame. This will run about 60 frames per second if we're lucky on Macintosh, okay? Remember, this stuff has to be computed at 44,100 times per second. And we do that down here with this function, bizarrely called onAudioFilterRead. I have no idea why Unity called it that, but this will actually compute something, a buffer worth of samples for us, okay? And while we're at it, we're going to grab this thing down here on application quit, because that's going to be important to shut things down properly. Otherwise, Unity will crash every time we turn it off, okay? So let's copy this out. And heck, I'll copy the comment too. Oops, that was bad. Let me do all this. Okay, go down here. Yeah, get all that. Copy it. Go over to MetaCube Sound. And below update, paste it in. We could even get rid of that update function if we wanted. And now, here's the story, okay? uRTcmix.run uRTcmix, that actually computes the samples, okay? Then utility functions for controlling script execution, uncomment what you need. Well, we're not using any of these right now. So I'm going to just delete them all. How can I do that? Because I know what I'm doing. Not really. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to make the class lively. Okay. All right. So now we're initializing uRTcmix. We're creating the score. We're sending the score. And now we're computing the score. This will work. We will now hear these wonderful marimba sounds. And when we quit, it's not going to crash. So the other thing to make sure you do is, I've been doing this periodically. I've been hitting Command S because that saves this. Because if you make all these changes and you don't save it, and you go back to Unity, Unity won't see the changes. And it'll go, oh, I'll just do what you did earlier, which is nothing. And we don't want that, okay?
How did you copy this one?
Okay,
From the,
I went here. And I went to, well, the first time I already closed that window, but it's all this up here and under edit. See the copy, Command C. I was using Command C for everything. I probably should have used the menu, but Command C and then paste is Command V to get it back in. These are kind of standard things anymore. Okay. Okay, but yeah, I'm going to close all this off now too, because we don't need this anymore either. Because we've already got everything we want in our Unity. Let's go give it a listen. Yay! All right, now I'm going to warn you, I'm missing a critical step here because you're not going to hear a thing, okay? So let me play it, expecting to hear that wonderful stuff, but I don't hear a thing. It's running, obviously, because I can move around. Where's that wonderful marimba sound that I was looking for? Well, turns out if we look closely at the beep thing when I had that up, there's one thing on this metacube script, this metacube object that's missing, okay? There's the script, we're happy with that, but I'm going to add a component. What we need to do is go down here to audio and make it an audio source. That's the thing that makes that on filter read work, okay? And this is kind of cute because we can actually see when I run it, you're going to see the audio appear there and you're going to hear it now too. Let me save this, Command S. Okay, here we go. There it is. And did you see all the cool sounds appearing there? Yeah, I'll show it again just because it's so much fun. As soon as I can get this clicked out of there. There we go, ready? Here it comes. Metacube. Metacube. Yeah, hey. All right, cool. But I want it to go on forever and ever and ever, or at least as long as I'm in the VR scene. Here's the problem. Let's go back to our stuff here. We've sent the score once, but we need to send it again when it's finished, all right? Well, at this point, I'm going to revert to a max MSP patch that I already made, so I don't have to it's not actually that hard even, you know? Where did it go? Stop. Window. Oops, nope, window, week 10. Heck, week 10.
It's already up.
You can see it? Oh, there it is. It was hiding from me. All right, let's go into here and I'm gonna do the marimbas.max patch and let's look at the difference. Well, difference number one, look, I've got a thing coming back around to here. And what I'm doing is sending a max bang at the end of the script. All right, so I'm going to take this whole script and now I'm going to replace on the meta sound. I'm going to replace all this here with that script once I scoralize it. So let me get out here to the scoralizer. All right, and
So Brad,
yeah.
something I've wondered about the max bang stuff, just for my edification. why not just make the score that you handed in loop forever with a while one or something like that?
Let me think about that. It would be difficult, at some point in tonight's class, we're going to start modifying stuff as it occurs, okay?
So you need to have it recheck everything.
Yes,
Got it.
right, right,
I-
that's the main thing, yeah. Okay, all right. Oops. Oh, now look, you made me shut my thing down, Doug. Shame on you. No, actually it would have happened anyhow. Okay, well, let me paste this in, okay? Hit Control D and say squirrelize, all right? And then copy all this out, and go back to here, paste it all in where it says string score, replace that. Now notice I could have typed that by hand, but notice that this is kind of screwy, all these like quotation marks and stuff like that. So it's better to use the squirrelizer because you can be guaranteed that it's not going to mess up. Okay, so this will actually play that thing. Also notice that I've cut down how many times it goes through to 20, so I don't have to like wait for a long time for it to stop or start or anything like that. Okay, but I'm generating this max bang. Well, this guy will play that score and it generates a max bang. What happens then? How do I intercept the max bang? How do I do the equivalent of that inside Unity? Well, if we go back to this, one of those functions that I like screwed out, that I like erased because I said we're not using it anymore, is look, this one, it says, if uRTcmix.checkBang uRTcmix equals 1. Ooh, that's kind of suspiciously important, isn't it? Down here, after it's computed a bunch of sound samples, we're going to check to see if there was a max bang. And what do we do if there was a max bang? Well, we send that score again, right? So I go down here, paste that. Okay, and again, because I'm an anal kind of guy, I like to like make it look nicer, so I push this out here. All right, now, so whenever it sees a max bang, it'll say, all right, here's my score again, send it out, and let's do the whole thing over again. Now it'll go on forever and ever and ever. And let's just double check that. By the way, we're getting close to, yeah, what time is it? How are you guys holding up? Yeah, we're doing okay. All right, let's start this up. Now we can like move around. Oh yeah, you'll just keep on going and keep on going, and life is good. We can go look at the sun again if we want. Yeah, after a while you realize this is kind of a boring environment, but it's got some cool sound. Okay, all right. Next thing I want to do is that nice low drone that you all loved last time. We're going to add that to this too, because it's always good to have a low drone, all right? And let's see, yeah. Here's what we're going to do. Yeah. After the drone, I'm going to show you how to localize this, and then we're done, okay? So Kitty, you should get out of here in plenty of time, unless I keep continuing to interrupt myself and, and tell you how close we are to being finished. Okay, we're almost there. All right, let's create another object here, okay? And this one, it's not going to have any stuff to it, okay? So I'm going to create an empty object because this is just going to be a low drone that's going to fill the air down there. It's not going to be associated with any object or anything like that. So I'm going to create an empty object, and I'll just call this low drone. Okay? All right. And let me then go ahead and add to low drone. I'm going to go ahead and add the script to it. Oh, you know what? It doesn't need to be 3 up. It can be just 0. We'll put it down right in the middle, okay? We're going to add another script, new script, and we'll call this low drone sound, okay? Create and add, okay? By the way, when I went back, we're going to add a sound source to this now, so I don't forget it. Notice that the no sound source doesn't appear there. That's because it's trying to find anything that starts with low drone sound. What you need to do is blitz that out. Okay. Click. And then you can see all this stuff again, okay? It's doing, basically, you can do a search and find for your components when you get really complicated with stuff. Let's go ahead and just add the audio source, though, so that we're happy with that. Okay, now we need to edit that low drone sound script and put in our low drone stuff, okay? So here we go. Do our low drone sound. There's the basic script. And let's go out here and find our low drone sound. And let's look at this one first, okay? All right, this is the basic low drone sound, okay? Now, I'm doing something different though. This is gonna be kind of obnoxious. Oh, it's also not as low as it used to be. Do you want to make it as low as it used to be? Okay, because I was working at home and I was just using my speakers on here and I couldn't hear it. So yeah, we'll make this back down to 40 because that's what everybody liked, okay? All right, this will go now. Okay. Oh, you guys, you're so easy to please. Okay. All right, here's the deal. Let's go ahead and get that going, and then I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do to make it sound even more fun, okay?
30.
What's that?
30.
30. I'm not gonna go to 30. What's wrong with you? 20, 10. Let's go down to 1. Click, 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 click. Oh, that's really low. Okay.
Low 30.
All right. Let's go back. And first thing we're going to do is we need to set up our script here. And let's just go over here to the meta sound stuff. Okay. And we'll get that. Okay. Because we've already made a bunch of decisions about that. Okay. We want to get pretty much all this down up through update, and we're going to be replacing the appropriate stuff at the time, okay? All right, so let me control copy that. Control paste it here, okay? Now, obviously we don't want this string because we're going to send it the low drone sound score, but this is basically everything we need, okay? Now, oh, it's looking for score, that's why it's underlined with red. We're going to put that in a minute, all right? In fact, let's just go ahead and put it in now. Okay, we'll get it over with. All right, so we'll click here, select Command Copy, go out to you know what, the Scorealyzer again. By the way, there is a way to just read a text file directly in if you've got a very complicated script. I decided that that's not what I wanted to spend my time on showing you tonight. So you can look that up on the documentation if you want. But let's go here, Scorealyzer. I'm going to scorealize it all. You know, plus these are not that long of scores, so I'll say Scorealyze, okay? Now, notice that there's no max bang here, because this is a thing, Doug, this is where we just want to start something and let it go forever. Notice the duration is 9999, okay? So that's just going to start and go, all right? Because we want it to be droning away the whole time, all right? So let's go now put it back where we need it to be going. Right here. Okay, now we have a variable called score, which has the sound for the low drone. Now, this is when I kept promising I'm going to come back to this objno thing. Objno is a number that you can set, and you can set it to whatever you want. I tend to do it sequentially because it's important, that will allow you to have more than one uRTcmix process going in your Unity scene. We have one going already that's doing the marimba stuff. This is a completely separate process. And this is what's really powerful about this, because you can have different uRTcmix processes on different game objects doing different things. And that can be kind of really cool. What I have to do is now set this to be 1. Now I could have left it at 0 and it would have worked, but it would have combined it with the marimba stuff and it probably would have been distorted as a result, you know? So this is going to be set to 1. It's good, life is happening. We're going to go back to here. We're going to get our on audio filter read, and we're going to take out the max bang stuff because we don't have a max bang in this. Let me go down here, Command copy. All right, let me go over here to the low drone sound, Command paste. Get rid of this because we don't have a max bang. It's just going to make sound the whole time. There we go. Life is good. Go back to Unity. Go back to Unity. There we go. All right. And we should be able to play it and hear both the marimba and the low dro sound at the same time. Here we go. Oh. It just makes the whole scene come alive, doesn't it? Okay. All right. Now I promised that I was going to do something cool to the low drone sound. All right. This is the cool thing we're going to do. And this is why in the earlier class, I used a waveform that I said was saw 7 that only had the first 7 harmonics. This is plain saw. This has all the harmonics. Why do I want all the harmonics there? I'm going to show you why. Let me go back up to class. No, safety. Look at low drone 2. Ah, look, there's 2 uRTcmixes there. All right. Here's the one that makes the drone sound, but it's taking its audio output and putting it into this one where I have a Moog filter attached to it. And I'm giving it a certain like frequency. It's going to filter it starting at 700 hertz. It's going to start rolling off. And then this resin table, this is basically the Moog filter cutoff. And with Moog filters, if you turn that up, you get that like weird peak. Do you guys know what I'm talking about with Moog? Yeah, like the synth,
Oh.
If you turn up the resonance on the Moog synth, it'll go like that. This is a way of getting that peak to be sharper and sharper. So I just chose some values that I thought would sound cool. 700 for the cutoff and 0.8, it's on the 0 to 1 scale, okay? And now, if you hear it, you'll hear it's filtered. But again, that's got the wrong sound for us, okay? We're gonna keep what we already have there, that low thing, and we're gonna go ahead and put that filter in. But how do we get a second uRTcmix thing in that's going to like take sound from that? Well, here's how you do it. You go over here to the low drone, okay? Okay, and there's our low drone sound script. I'm gonna close this down so we have more room here, okay? I'm going to add another script. New script. And we'll call this Moog Filt script, okay? What did I write? Moog Filt script, okay? And we're going to create and add that. Okay, life is now good again. Go out here and we're going to double click on this Moog Filt. And at this point, we're pretty much going to take all of the stuff that we've done, and we're going to get rid of that score there. Okay, let me command copy, go to our Moog Filt script. We're going to command paste it all in, get rid of this score because we're going to send it the filter score now. Okay, and the other thing we have to do is now set this to a new uRTcmix process because it is in fact a new one, all right? We have 2 of these Moog filters now running on this, 2 of these uRTcmix scripts running on this thing. Well, let's get the score over there. That's gonna be real simple. And I probably, again, could do it by hand, but I'll do the scorealizer. Let me copy. Notice that this says RT input audio. That's the thing that enables sound to come into it from a previous process. So that's important to keep that there, okay? Let's go out, we'll scorealize it. Scorealize, there it is. Copy that, go back to our Visual Studio, put that in here, okay? And we're almost done. Down here, it's important. I've been thinking about changing this because it doesn't make that big a difference. Set 0 to 1 for input processing. Well, I need to change this to be 1 if I'm going to use that RT input audio thing, okay? Why is this here? It's for efficiency's purpose. You know, when you're dealing with Unity and you're doing a lot of heavy graphics computation, you can put a serious load on the processor. If all you're doing is synthesizing sound, you only have to like create the sound samples. If you're processing sound like this filter, you have to read all the sound samples and then push them back out. So you're doing twice as much work. So this is a way of trying to lessen the load on the CPU. But to be honest with you, I haven't noticed that it makes that much difference. So I'm thinking about just like getting rid of it, okay? But for now, you have to change that to 1 or you won't hear anything, all right? So let's now go back, save this, go out here, go to our low drone so we can see how things are looking. Okay, go to our low drone so we can see how things are looking. Yep, looks good. And now when we play it, okay, here we go. Yeah. Okay. All right, so that basically did what we wanted. However, a filter like that is just kind of like boring, right? Because what you really want to do with a filter is this. Ready? Want to be able to move it around, right? Okay. How do we do that? Well, I just closed down the window. I was going to show you how you do that. Okay, where to go? Open recent batch or load drawn 3. All right, here's what you do, okay, is notice that this uRTcmix tilde object, I have an optional second parameter here. That tells me how many of these inlets I want to have, because that's the way I can get data to come in to this uRTcmix thing. What is this uRTcmix thing doing? Well, the frequency, which was set to 700 when I had it static, is now set to a variable, and that variable is making a connection to inlet number 1 with a default frequency of 1700 hertz. Okay, so this is what we do to like get data to come in. Well, let's take this script, and you know what we're going to do? We're going to squirrelize it. We'll put it in place of our existing script. Let's go out here. Where's my, there we go. Go to the squirrelizer, put it in, Control D, squirrelize, there it is. Copy this out, all right. Get rid of all this max MSP gunk. Go up here, put this in place of this script, all right, and we're ready to roll.
Brad, I gotta run, so enjoy.
Okay, so yeah, I'll put the video up, okay? So the localization stuff is actually after this. That'll be interesting for you, I think. Okay?
Okay, great, thank you.
All right, bye-bye. Okay, so now we go to our uRTcmix thing, and we'll just play it. And you're gonna hear, now it's gonna be set to 1700 hertz. But it's not moving at all. It's not actually doing anything at all. How do we do that? Well, come out here and let me show you the things that we can do, okay? In this script template, notice that there is a function down here. uRTcmix set p field uRTcmix inlet value, and then of course the objno. This is the function that takes the place of that inlet that allows us to send data into it. Well, that's the function for me. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to put it over here, and I'm going to put it in the update function, because every frame this is going to check and see, well, should I send stuff out now to uRTcmix? I don't have to do it every sample, so I don't have to do it down in that other one where we're computing the samples. This is the one where I'm just going to do it every time we update the frame. Well, it wants, obviously, what inlet am I going to use? Well, I'm going to use inlet number 1, right? And I've already made a connection to inlet number 1 here, but now the value, I have to set the value to something, all right? Well, I don't have a little max window that I can move up and down like this. There's any number of things. This is where Unity gets fun. You can do things like measure your distance to another object. Use that as your value. You can measure your speed. You can measure this. You can do anything that you want to look at and use that as a basis for computing this value. Well, I don't want to be that fancy, so I'm going to say float value equals mathf dot ping pong. And mathf.pingpong takes a time and an increment, okay, or length. So I'm going to say time.time, and I'll explain all this in a minute. 1.0 f. What the heck does this mean? Well, it turns out that oscillating between 0 and some number is such a common thing to do in all kinds of things that they actually have a separate thing for this. And you can actually look it up by hitting command, like single quote, and it will like take you to the manual page where it tells you how to use this thing, okay? But I'm going to tell you how to use it so you don't have to read the stupid manual page, all right? Oh, that's supposed to be time. Is it time.time? Time.time, yeah, okay. What this does is this time.time gives you the running count of seconds every time that update is called. So like I said, it's called about 60 times a second. The first one will be like 1 over 60, 2 over 60, 3 over 60, 4 over 60, all the way up to 1, okay? This tells you how far you're going to go before you go back down to 0. So what this will do is this will count to the time all the way up to 1 second. And then it's going to keep on going because it's going to keep on counting, but then it'll go back down to 0 for another 1 second. Then it'll go back to 1 for 1 second, back to 0 for 1 second. And I could make that longer if I want. I could make it take 5 seconds and then go back down for 5 seconds. But let's just do 1 second, okay? So this is going to generate a value between 0 and 1. Well, what am I going to do is I'm going to multiply that by 2000. So our 0 to 1 is now going to go from 0 to 2000, which is not a bad range for a filter, okay? And our job is done. This will now send this ping-ponging value into inlet number 1 for Objno, which we've already declared up there, and it should make our filter like go up and down, okay? Right. So let's go out here. Let's hit this. And here we go.
How fast is
Time.time is as fast as your computer is running the frame rate. Okay, that's what makes it essential in Unity. You know, if I just like had a counter in there and I said, let's add 0.01 each time, it's going to run at a separate speed on every computer you run it on, because some computers are going to compute faster than,
Right.
and even though each frame you're going to increment it by 0.01, it might be running faster than that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Wait, did you set that increment inside the ping pong thing? Or
No.
is that just like the default?
It's just the frame rate. It's
Well,
the frame rate.
Well, like it's updating once per frame, but is the increment of 0.01? Is that like the
Nope.
default?
The increment is actually there. You can see the increment. There's another value called time.delta time, which is the amount of time that has elapsed since the last frame was computed.
Right.
Okay.
But you're going from 0 to 1,
Right.
and then your time value is time.time. But
Right.
like how many frames until you get to 1 and then
Okay.
you go back?
Right. That's going to be dependent upon how fast it can compute a frame.
But
Okay.
my question is like 1 frame passes.
Right.
How much do we move in the filter?
Suppose that it's a very fast computer and you're running at 100 frames per second. The amount that you would move then is 0.01 for each frame. because that'll take you all the way up. But suppose it's a very slow computer and it's running at only 10 frames per second.
Oh, it's 1 second is the whole, I understand. Okay.
Okay, got it. The other thing that's weird that people don't realize is that even though it's going out to 1, time.time keeps going 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Ping pong is counting between 0 and 1, or 0 and whatever you specify, 5 or 10 or whatever. I could make it go 5 seconds long up and back if I wanted to. Okay. It took me a while to wrap my head around this, but
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
okay. All right. This is the final frontier, okay? And this is where it gets a little bit weird, okay? I can see my screen. I want to set it up so that when I move by this object, the sound coming from it is going to appear to be coming from that object, okay? And we're going to use a little bit of psychoacoustics here. All of you have heard of ambisonics, probably, okay? That's a system of kind of capitalizing on a lot of this. I don't like ambisonics myself because I think it's far too complicated for what you need to do. This is designed to be very efficient and run very quickly, and it works pretty well. Here's what we count on, okay? Here we are in our scene, and we're a listener. We're a happy listener, and we have happy listener ears, okay? We have an object out here that's making sound. That sound is going to go here to one of the ears. It's going to go here to the other ear. What's the difference between these two? Time. Yeah. You use time decoding between your two ears to determine a lot of where you determine the sound is coming from. In addition to time, there's also an amplitude. The farther it has to travel, the less amplitude it's going to have when it reaches there. So we're going to compute both the time and the amplitude. And one final thing, there's also this thing you've probably heard of called a head-related transfer function, which basically, especially when the sound moves around behind you, you get this weird shadow from your pinna, and it acts as kind of a low-pass filter. Okay? The head-related transfer function is actually very complicated. In fact, these really high-end headphones, they will compute your own HRTF because everybody's is different.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Personalized.
What I've done is I've created a very crude model of the HRTF that it applies, again, in the name of efficiency. It seems to work pretty well, all right? So what we're going to do is there's an uRTcmix instrument called Localize that will take a sound coming into it, and you're going to give it the sound source coordinates and the sound destination coordinates, and it will compute all that and then send the sound out with the appropriate delay and amplitude and filter modifications done so that it will sound as if it's coming from that place over there. Now, here's the really tricky thing, and you don't need to know this, okay, is I'm very proud of this coding, okay? This is clever. When I was designing this, I thought, well, we have a bunch of sound sources, you know, they're all sending their sound to this, you know, is this guy going to have to go through and like collate all of these sound sources and put them like, you know, mix them all together? That would be a very tricky problem to do because I would have to somehow make all these connections happen. You don't have to do that. The sound is going to be sent out by each one of these sound sources. What they're going to do is they're going to compute this transform by using an inverse transform. As long as the sound coming out has that delay time, that amplitude, and that filter, it'll still seem as if it's coming from here, even though we're not actually monitoring the sound down at the head. We're just encoding it all at the sources. Isn't that clever? Yay! Now, how do you make it work? Well, in the interest of time and kind of brain sort of resources, I'm not going to do what I've been doing and code everything through. I'm going to go ahead and bring up a Unity project where it's already built in, but I'm going to show you where you can get the information to do this encoding, okay? If you go to, and this will be on our, if you go to, this will be on the class webpage, uRTcmix. Oops, I did everything backwards there. uRTcmix. Notice that there is a sound localization with the localized instrument. Oh, look, see the squirrelizer program, all that stuff. The one thing I don't have here yet is my observer move stuff, but I'll have that for you to download too, okay? And look, there's even a video tutorial, which was done pre-pandemic, okay? What I did was basically went through here and copied over the relevant stuff that I needed in order to make that localized instrument work. And then I'm going to show you what that is, and then we can all go home in peace. Okay, let me shut this down. No, I'm going to keep this up because I might want to show you a script, but let me shut, well, shoot. Yeah, let me shut this down. Okay, and let me go to my Unity hub here. And I want to show you, what do I want to show you? Oh, week 10, try one. Yeah. Okay, so here it comes. It'll start up. Wow, listen to that. Wow. Oh, here's why. Well, forget it. We'll just have to live with it for a while. Okay, here it is. Now let's take a look at this. Oh, I called it polycube here. Okay, let's take a look at the Marimba's script, which is on, right. Polycube, I think, is playing the marimbas. Right, there they are. There's the marimba script. Because now it's not just got the marimba sound playing, but it also has the encoding of this localized stuff. And I'll just take you through it real quick, and then we'll listen to what it does. Okay. Remember at the beginning of the term when I said that I was covering, like in each one of these classes, about 3 or 4 weeks worth of stuff? Well, like this localized could be a whole class on itself because it is a little bit tricky to use. But here's all we did, okay? We have our obj node to 0 because that's the first one we did, so life is good there, okay? Right. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong one. This is the one I wanted to look at, okay. Yeah. I'm doing another way of getting the sound to go from the marimbas into the filter, or in this case, the filter is the localized filter. And it's using this technique called bus config. So if you look out here, you'll notice that I do not have, like on the drone, I have the drone and then the filter, right? And I could have done that with this too, but I wanted to show a different way of doing it. On the polycube, notice that I just have the marimba right there, the marimba script. That's all I have. I don't have a separate sort of localized script or anything like that. And that's because I'm using an internal uRTcmix mechanism to allow the modal bar to go directly into localize, okay? Then I'm connecting the X, Y, and Z coordinates of the source, which is this object, and I'm saying that the destination is going to be 0, 0, 0, which is the far object, because remember, I'm flipping everything around, okay? And then I send it this score, which is the marimbas, and also I've sent it this score, which turns on this localize encoder with a thing of 9999. It's just going to run the whole time. And then down here in the update, I get my transform. The transform is this thing that tells where you are, and then I just feed that into the make connections for inlet 1, 2, and 3. And that's how it computes it all, okay? So now, and then I use that same check max bang, so it'll keep on going and keep on going, keep on going. So yeah, like I said, I think we're running at the end of our ability to comprehend, but here's how it works, okay? Didn't work at all. Why didn't it work? Max bang was received. Max magnet. Let's try it again. Okay. Can you hear it? Tell you what, let me turn the drone off. Even though the drone is like lots of fun. No. Can you tell where it is? No, I'm gonna make it go from that speaker or that speaker. Flying ahead. I mean, it's kind of hard to hear on the speakers, but you should be able to, yeah. But with headphones, it's really powerful. It sounds as if it's coming from there. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So, yeah. Do you want me to go into the details of localize? No, sorry. Maybe next time I'll cover it a little bit more. I think I've definitely reached my zenith, as my wife always says, we've reached our zenith now. She's that kind of wife. So she's a scientist, what can I say? Let's let this kind of sit for a bit. And again, if you do start really working with this, like next year or something like that, I won't be here in the spring, but I'll be available via Zoom, and I'll be more than willing to help anybody out doing this stuff. And in the meantime, I think it's a pretty powerful thing. And next time it'll be really more powerful, because you'll see that you can do a lot more than add like weird cubes and flat green planes underneath, because that's when it starts getting really fun. Yeah. Okay, well, you can get to your thing. I can go home and kind of relax and just go for a while.
Stop coding.
Yeah. Oh man, that was hard. Ugh.